Welcome to the Explainer. So if you've ever taken a peek at longevity stats, you've probably noticed a pretty glaring discrepancy between the sexes. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating biological mystery. We're going to break down the latest, cutting-edge research to understand exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how we can all use this science to our advantage.
Which brings us right to the core question here. Why do women age better? I mean, is it just that women generally have healthier lifestyles? Are they just remarkably lucky? Or is there a hidden, deeply embedded biological mechanism at play? Well, for decades, scientists have been trying to figure out exactly why female brains and bodies seem so remarkably resilient to the test of time.
4 to 5, that's the number of extra years women live compared to men on a global average. But it's not just about lifespan, it's really about health span. Women consistently show a tendency to face cognitive decline and dementia much later than men. Basically, their brains stay sharper for longer. And this is definitely not a coincidence. Scientists have been hunting for the specific factor that makes female physiology so incredibly durable against aging.
Section 1. Waking the Second X, a UCSF scientific breakthrough.
So, this breakthrough comes from a new study published in the journal Science Advances by researchers over at the University of California, San Francisco, and it has essentially cracked open a brand new door in our understanding of aging. Okay, we all know the baseline, right? Biological females generally possess 2 X chromosomes, while biological males possess an X and a Y. But it's what happens to that second X chromosome in females that makes this whole story so incredible.
For a really long time, the scientific consensus regarding the inactive X was that one of the 2 X chromosomes in females was permanently switched off, or inactivated, very early in development. And honestly, the logic makes perfect sense. You don't want redundant gene functions competing and making things totally messy on a cellular level. So biology basically hits the mute button on one of them, and it sleeps forever. Or so we thought.
Now here is the thrilling twist of the UCSF study. Researchers looked at 20-month-old female mice. Now, to put that into perspective for us humans, 20 months in mouse years is roughly equivalent to about 65 human years. So we're talking about senior mice here. And they discovered that in this older age bracket, that dormant, silent second X chromosome actually woke up. No way, right? It suddenly began expressing more than 20 genes, almost like a biological reserve tank, kicking in right when the body starts to really age. UCSF neuroscientist Dina Dubal perfectly captured the essence of this whole discovery. She noted that female brains biologically look younger and show less cognitive impairment as they age compared to males. And she summed up this phenomenon beautifully, saying, "Aging is like waking up the sleeping X chromosome. It's literally a sleeping beauty metaphor occurring right inside the cells, providing this amazing protective shield just when the brain needs it the absolute most."
Section 2. Protecting the hippocampus, the brain's memory center.
So where exactly is this awakened superpower going to work? Well, it turns out these newly active genes aren't just firing off randomly. They heavily target the hippocampus. Now, if you need a quick refresher, the hippocampus is your brain's memory and learning center. It's also the exact region that typically shrinks and degrades as we get older, which is what leads to forgetfulness and cognitive decline. But the waking X chromosome seems to deploy its genes directly to this area, actively delaying its deterioration.
Now you might be wondering, well, that's great for people with XX chromosomes, but what about the rest of us? Good question. As Dr. Dubal points out, cognitive decline is one of our biggest medical challenges, for sure, but the aging brain is still changeable. The awakened X chromosome isn't just a fun fact about female biology. It's actually a blueprint. It's showing scientists that the aging brain has the full capacity to heal and defend itself. It tells us what is biologically possible.
Section 3. Brain plasticity for all, mimicking the X chromosome.
And this brings us to the absolutely most empowering part of the research. We are looking at universal brain plasticity. While we can't all rely on a sleeping X chromosome to wake up and save the day, the science of longevity tells us that the brain doesn't just decline unstoppably. It always has the potential to recover and adapt. We can literally learn from what those genes are doing and change our habits to manually stimulate the hippocampus. We can trigger our own protective mechanisms.
Section 4. 6 Steps to Sharpness. Everyday Brain Health Habits.
So based on this longevity research, there are 6 practical everyday habits you can adopt right now to keep your hippocampus healthy and your mind sharp. You're essentially creating your own biological armor. First up, move regularly. Aerobic exercises like fast walking, swimming, or Pilates increase blood flow to the brain, and studies actually show this can physically increase the size of your hippocampus. How cool is that? Second, train the brain with novelty. Don't let your brain get too comfortable. Learn a new language, read a genre of book you usually avoid, or just do something that demands intense focus. This forces the brain to build new connections, a process called neuroplasticity. Third, prioritize your sleep. Seriously, sleep isn't just rest. It's when your brain actively organizes data and clears out metabolic waste. In fact, chronic sleep deprivation is directly linked to dementia.
Fourth, reduce internal inflammation. What you eat directly affects your brain, so prioritize good fats, like the kind you find in fish, load up on leafy greens and berries, and absolutely severely cut down on processed foods and high sugar, which cause chronic inflammation. Fifth, care for your mental health. Chronic stress is just toxic to the hippocampus. Simple practices like deep breathing, meditation, or really just spending time with people you feel totally safe with can literally protect your brain long-term. And finally, number 6, maintain social connections. Having a community and engaging in regular conversation isn't just good for your mood, it's scientifically proven to lower the risk of cognitive decline.
Section 5, Knowledge Check. Let's test what we've learned.
Okay, we've covered a lot of really fascinating ground today, so let's do a super quick knowledge check to cement what we've taken away from all this research. Think back to that UCSF breakthrough we discussed earlier. Which chromosome plays a key role in helping women live longer and actively delay cognitive decline?
Is it A, the XY combination, B, the XX combination, C, the XXX combination, or D, the X chromosome? Go ahead and lock in your answer.
And the answer is the X chromosome, specifically that second, sleeping X chromosome that wakes up later in life to express those amazing protective genes, just like a biological sleeping beauty.
All right, let's move on to our second question. Based on the longevity guidelines we just covered, what activities lead to long-term efficient brain function and help mimic that protective chromosomal effect?
Well, the answer is all 6 of the core habits we outlined. Regular movement to increase your hippocampus size, novel brain training to build plasticity, prioritizing sleep to clear out that waste, reducing inflammation through a healthy diet, taking care of your mental health to reduce toxic stress, and of course, actively socializing with a community. Together, these are hands down your best defense against cognitive decline.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder. We now know that the aging brain is incredibly adaptable, changeable, and just waiting to be stimulated. So, what new habit will you start today to wake up your brain's hidden potential? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to pick just one of those 6 habits and put it into practice today. See you next time.